Welcome to the Tailoring Talk Show with me, your host, Roberto Rivilla. I am a bespoke tailor, menswear designer, and owner of Roberto Rivilla London Suit and Shirt Makers. It's the podcast where you drop in for the threads, but often leave with something quite unexpected. You join me as I meet self-starters and creators to learn about their journeys, the highs and lows, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Please support the show by subscribing, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it helps so much if you take a few seconds to rate and review my show. My guest today is a highly sought-after business mentor who's featured in Success from Home magazine and spoken alongside the likes of Grant Cardone, John Maxwell, Brown and Mel Robbins. As a multiple seven-figure entrepreneur, husband and dad of 5, he knows the struggle most self-starters have trying to run a business and have a family. He believes that with the right mentorship, any entrepreneur can get more clients, increase profits, and take their business to the next level without sacrificing their health, happiness, and core values. Tailoring Talkers, please join me in welcoming Darin Kidd to the Tailoring Talk Show. Darin, how are you?
I am amazing, Roberto. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. The Amazon guy has just pulled up outside just as I finished my intro. So everything's just gone absolutely crazy. Darin, you're calling in today from Virginia. Thank you so much for joining me. 5 children.
Yes, that's probably why you and I have the same haircut. I don't know what your reason is, but that's probably why if any of you, I know some are just listening, some are seeing the video, but Roberto and we're hair models on the side. And no, I'm just kidding. But yes, 5 kids from almost 30 down to 14.
Wow. So you started really young.
I did. That's one of my warnings to people. I go, listen, if you work from home, if you're an entrepreneur and you live in a small area like I do, be very careful because you can have a bunch of kids. Yeah, my wife and I, we were married. We met in high school. We were married at 20. So we just passed 30 years of marriage, and I'm very blessed.
Yeah, no, totally. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have kids, but we have 2 dogs and we have 2 cats. So I always told people that I have 4. Because it really does feel like that most of the time.
Well, you can borrow some of my kids. That's okay. We'll send some over to stay with you for a bit.
Yeah, no problem. I'll come over and pick them up. Don't worry. You're busy. Let me save you the time. I kind of feel like, so I've just got back from Madrid. It's been our first vacation since the pandemic, and we worked nonstop through COVID. Firstly, trying to keep our business alive, pivot. And then with what we were doing, which was basically custom casual, we came out of the pandemic, and this past year has been absolutely insane. I took 3 weeks in total off over the Christmas period, which I absolutely needed. But now the panic is starting to set in as I look at my work phone, get tempted to switch it on. I go back on Monday. I know that everything's going to avalanche in on my head. And I know that for many of my listeners, that's probably the same kind of feeling of apprehension they have as self-starters and freelancers and so on. So it just feels like you're the first and most perfect guest of 2023 to have on to kick off this season. So thank you so much for that. But, I think I wanted to mention your kids at the very start, because it's testimony to how you've managed to get to where you are today. But can you take me a little bit on your journey to Zendom, I'm going to call it? I don't even know if that's a word.
I don't know. Sounds great. Yeah,
you look so fresh-faced and put together. And inside, I'm literally absolutely crying like a scared kid in a corner.
Well, you know what? I mean, let's face it. We're all human. And a lot of times people look at people like us, and they think that we don't go through the emotional roller coaster of life and of business. And so, I want to commend you and congratulate you, because when we go through those challenging times, we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But we end up finding out that sometimes the most challenging times of our life end up being the best times of our life. But when people, and here's why I love, and that's why I like about video as well. So those of you just listen to audio, if you can catch a video, because you can see people's heart, right? And you can hear it in their voice. And there's old saying that sometimes people's actions, they speak so loudly, you can't hear what they're saying. Their words and their actions don't exactly mix. But I can't hide the fact that I love helping people. They look at what I've done now and they see the Grant Cardone, interviewed by Grant Cardone and John Maxwell, Mel Robbins, speaking on stage in front of 25,000 people all over the world. And they think that that's something that may not be possible for them when they don't know the rest of the story. So when people normally introduce me, in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's hurry up and get through that, because I want to make sure they hear the other side of the story that's going to motivate and inspire them to know that if Darin Kidd can do it, they can do it. So it was 25 years ago that we were bankrupt on government assistance. And my car was repossessed, actually one street over from where I am right now in my office. We were on Medicaid, so I couldn't afford health insurance, couldn't afford to feed my family. I'm a college dropout. I lived in a town about 1,500 people. I think the county's maybe 10,000 people. And so here I was walking into my bedroom, closing the door behind me, walking by the windows in my bedroom that have sheets tacked on the window because we couldn't afford many blinds or curtains, grabbing this plastic Coca-Cola piggy bank out of our closet, where I told my daughter, hey, put your money in the bank and someday we'll go to Disney World. Someday. And I watched my dad pass away saying someday we'll go do this, someday we'll go do that. Well, guess what? Someday never came. And so I learned that someday leads to a town called nowhere. But I also learned that some people's some days are other people's every days. And so here I was dumping that piggy bank on the floor, going through the change. She walks in, sees Dad taking her money for Disney, runs out of the room crying. And I remember being on my hands and knees going, God, how could I be so low that I am taking my child's Disney money? Like, how did this happen? I'm bankrupt. My car's repossessed. We're on Medicaid. Can't feed my family. Can't support my wife. I couldn't keep a job. I couldn't make it through college. I just went to the doctor for depression and put me on antidepressants that made me feel worse than everything else. And I'm like, I have no hope. But that was the day, Roberto, that it hurt bad enough. That was the day where I go, you know what? I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. And people don't have to believe. I've got friends of mine they believe completely different things than I believe. But I believe we're made in the image of our Creator. We're created for success, and the world programs us for failure. We're told more about our limitations than our possibilities. So it was that day, and it's like the farmer that was on the porch in an old rocking chair, and the neighbors walking by and said, hey, mister, I can see your dog under the porch. He's laying on a nail. And the old farmer goes, hey, don't worry about it. When it hurts bad enough, he'll move. That was the day it hurt bad enough. I got up off my knees. I walked in the other room, and I put on a 3x5 index card and plastered it on my wall and said, I will until, no matter what it takes, I will be unstoppable. Because they can quit on their family, I will never quit on mine. That was the pivotal point where I go, my family deserves better than this. And if they can do it, I can do it. So that was what started to turn my life around. Then over the next, 20 some years is where I went out and did all the things, started investing in me and finding the right mentors and putting in the work that completely changed my life. But that's how it all started. And that's where the name of my book came from. I will until, because I learned that I want. Some people go, I want this. And want is a weak word. When it goes from I want to I will, no matter what it takes, I was created and designed to have more. And most people listening, here's the thing, they know deep down inside, they're not living up to their human potential. None of us are. But we have so much more inside of us. And that's why I love helping, inspiring other people to know you can have more, be more, do more with your God-given potential.
Yeah. Wow. It's kind of some of that got me through that whole pandemic situation, because our business was shut down for the first time. Yeah, I know you lot. I'm going to tell the story again, but I've never met Darin before. So and I just needed some thinking time, some breathing space. And, you hit on something really important there. It seems to be a human condition, especially in this day and age, that people love to tell you what you can't do. or what you can't achieve or what can't happen. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, COVID's happened. No one's going to need your services anymore. I mean, that was one of the worst. And usually I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I don't listen to people. I run my own race. But that really kind of got me. And so I needed some thinking space. So I just looked at who was hiring so I could just get some money on the table to cover some of the bills. I did, all the food delivery kind of stuff, which was kind of funny because when I was younger and I was a bit more arrogant, I used to tell clients who would ask me to pick up pieces of clothing from their office or whatever, I tell them that I'm not a pizza delivery boy. I literally have been a pizza delivery boy now for 12 months prior. But I just needed to do that just to put some money on the table and just to get some breathing and get some thinking space and to kind of re-evaluate my goals in the face of this new thing that had just come along. But, at the end of the day, it could be the pandemic. It could be an energy crisis. It could be World War III. There's always going to be something going on. And, I get the sense from you that having that kind of self-belief, conviction in your goals is what keeps the wolf from the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm very fortunate to be in some masterminds and groups and circles now with people that they're worth several hundred million. One guy's company's done over 30 billion, and all of them are saying the same thing. Like, look, the next 12 to 24 months are going to be the most challenging times we've ever experienced in our lifetime. Now, with them, there's a difference. Wealthy people think differently because they know the biggest transfer of wealth happens during a recession, during a depression, and during wars. There are more people that are going to need solutions to their challenges than ever before. This is the time. If you look at a lot of great companies, I believe it was Uber and Airbnb and Amazon, all of those came through all the challenging times, right? So anytime we go through these things, one thing that I realized later on, because at first I used to think, man, am I being punished? I'm trying to do all the right things. Later on, you learn it's not punishment, it's preparation. Because the same version that got us to where we are is not the same version that gets us to the next level. And if we want to get something different, we have to do something different. And anything that we ever achieve and we achieve and win in our head first. So now looking back, I understand that obstacles and challenges, they're not our enemy. They're our friend. They're your best friend, because without obstacles, there is no elevation. It's not the easy times that make us grow. We do not grow in easy times. Now we have to do the right things through the challenging times, but the goal is not just to go through it, but to grow through it. And when we look back, I'll guarantee you, when we look back at what happened with all of that, the people that do the right things, ask the right questions, seek out the right mentors, do all the things that they should, they'll look back and go, man, that was the worst time of my life was the best time. The worst thing that happened to me ended up being the best thing that happened to me when I look back. So yes, the challenges and the obstacles, all of those, they make us into a different person. We come out the other side a different version than we went in.
Yeah. And you also mentioned the people that you surround yourself with as well. The people that you spend the most time. I think someone said recently, I heard someone say something like, the people that you spend the most time with, you might need to help me out here, because I kind of get.
You become the average of the people you associate with the most. You show me your circle, I will show you your future. So a good question, if you're taking notes, which I would encourage you, in the future, never trust your fortune to your memory. But I would ask myself, what are my associations doing to me, or what are they doing for me? They're like an elevator. They lift us up or they bring us down. And so John Maxwell says, if you can't change the people around you, you change the people around you. So I am very intentional about who I associate with. I'm very intentional about who I let into my headspace, because, Tony Robbins has a quote. I wish I had it right in front of me. You will become your reflection of the expectations, basically, of your peer group. So when you become very intentional about your associations, they think differently, right? If you like the people that are going to have the next 12 to 24 months break them, Man, it's the government, it's the economy, it's where I live, it's lack of resources. Tony Robbins says, look, it's not a matter of lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. But the wealthy people go, you know what? We're going to accelerate. This is separation season. We're going to help more people than we've ever helped. We're going to make a bigger impact. Like, this is the time, because when things are great, things are normal, it's very competitive. But most people are not willing to do what they should do through challenging times in any area of their life. And then once we start coming out of it, that's acceleration season, separation, acceleration. And so, yes, if there's one thing you get out of this interview, be very intentional about your associations. And for me, living in the middle of nowhere, in the country, I had to invest a massive amount, multiple six figures, Roberto, in the last 24 months. I'm like, the same version of Darin Kidd that got me to where I am is not the same version that gets me to the next level. And if I want to get something different, I have to do something different. So what do I read? What do I listen to? Who do I associate with? And so I want to get around people that scare me, make me very uncomfortable. They think so big. And what happens, Roberto, and this has been an aha moment for me. I had a mentor that was a billionaire, had 40 companies in 60 countries. He gave away, when I was with him, $400 million to charity. And he still, even though he passed away over a decade ago, it's still going. He was paying for 1,000 kids a year to go to college. And he said this to me, but I didn't get it. He goes, you will never get past your self-imposed limitations. It's not what goes on around you that's as important as what goes on within you. And I didn't get it. It was an invisible lid in my own head. It's our identity. It's that internal thermostat where the person that we feel like we are, that's who shows up. The outside world is a mirror of the inside world. When I hang around and you start associating with people that think bigger, that speak differently, that take action, you start to go, wow, okay, if I feel like I'm a 75-degree person and this person's 100-degree, 125-degree, you start to go, they're human just like I am. Man, they got some jacked up emotions just like I do. And so if they can do it, I can do it. And so it is true. You become who you hang around. Show me your circle. I'll show you your future. And so what are my associations doing to me? What are they doing for me? So I have a list of people I want to be very intentional to be around in 2023, knowing that that's going to help me get to where I want to be a lot sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you're saying there, I was like nodding my head like one of those little dogs you put in the car window, because I'm thinking back over 2022. It was, I think I told you before we came on, it was our best business year ever in my entire career. And people ask me when I tell them that, what was the big change last year? And I'm like, it's not the obvious thing you think. If I only gun to my head point to one thing, it's the people that I hung out with last year. I just have started to create my circle around people who are. Wade Galt hit the nail on the head with me a few months ago. He said he uses the word impactors. And that's so powerful. It's people who have an impact in every way, shape, form, whether it's something big they do or something little they do. From something they might do amazingly in business or in their philanthropy. Oh my God, I can't even say it. You know what I mean? Charity stuff.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got you. I just normally, when I can't get a word out, I say it really fast and hopefully nobody catches me, but they do.
Yeah. But they're also the people who, when things are going well for you, they're your biggest cheerleaders. They share and they enjoy and they revel in the success that they're seeing in you. But also when you're not doing so well, or you're trying to turn the Rubik's Cube and you're trying to problem solve, they're there right behind you with a hand on your back, helping you in whatever way they can. Those are the people that I started to surround myself with last year. And again, like you, I'm being very, very intentional about who I'm hanging out with in 2023. And who I want to spend time with.
Well, and a couple of things there. I want to share something with you. A lot of times it's not your closest friends. It's not your closest people right now. It's a whole different group of people, because when you start talking big, when you start thinking big, you start to intimidate the people closest to you. And then if they don't feel or think the same way, then it's easier for them to tear you down, tear your building down, than to build theirs bigger. You're in this box, and if you get too low, they go, wait a minute, come back up here. Don't get that low, Darin. I mean, it's not, depressed and all that. But then when I started going, no, I'm going to go out, I'm going to make an impact all over the world. And they're like, Darin, do you not remember who you are? You're bankrupt, on government assistance. You can't feed your family. You'll pass out if you speak in front of 5 people that you know. Couldn't make it through college, can't keep a job. Your house looks abandoned at that point 25 years ago. So they keep you in this box. So we have to tell people something. Hey, look, either be positive or be quiet. You can't have stinking thinking if you're going to go to the next level. And just like for me, like Roberto, this is the first time you and I having a really good conversation, right? Already, because I'm not in your closest circle, but I'm seeing things. I'm like, you know what? This guy has a great heart. In my mind, I'm like, no, he's just not a tailor. He didn't just design like beautiful clothing. This guy's a transformation. I don't even know what the word is, but in my mind, because you love helping people, so you're not giving them clothes, you're giving them confidence, you're giving them happiness, you're making an impact that's a ripple effect with the people that they come in contact with, right? And so when in my mind, me being outside of your world, I just had I just like visualized me walking in your business with my head down, my shoulders down, breathing shallow, talking softly. If this is a commercial or your TikTok video, right? And all of a sudden I walk out the other door or walk back out, and I'm dressed sharp and I'm smiling and I'm confident because you transformed me. You made an impact in me. But see, sometimes we don't have those people in our life. We're hearing the same people. Sometimes this has been another aha moment for me. I don't mean to get too excited, but we can be mentally enslaved and handcuffed by the people around us. Have you ever broken away from a certain group of people and you go, how did I not see that? Was I in a cult? But that's why, again, it's important to be very intentional who you associate with. Get around people that think differently, because when you hang around the same people all the time, we can be mentally handcuffed and in a groove that's hard to get out of unless we break it and change those associations.
Yeah, I was just thinking about you also, Darin. You forgive me. I'm an empath, I've been told. So it means you're telling me stories. I'm in there kind of walking around in all of that awful period that you went through. But you know what? I don't, and you guys and girls that are listening, take a breath before you speak to people, and especially when you have someone who's overcome great adversity, don't be quick to put them back in that box. What you went through 25 odd years ago, if we were friends, I wouldn't even dream of trying to drag you back there or try and drag your thoughts back there. That just doesn't make sense to me. We only have one life to live. It's everyone's right to make it as best a life they can. And if you can take inspiration from that and improve your own lot, fantastic. But it doesn't compute with me. I don't understand people that see someone start to soar and then try and immediately shoot them down again. It just doesn't make sense. And you're absolutely right. It's like, your impact group most often is not your closest friendship group. And any of my close friends, I know that you do listen to this podcast. I love you all very, very much. We're all on different journeys. I've always got your back. Don't take it personally. And if you are taking it personally, then go look in the mirror.
Yeah, Steve Harvey says if you want to kill and here's the thing, if they're listening to the podcast, then they're probably not that person, right? But It's always good to be aware, because awareness leads to change. But Steve Harvey said, if you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person. And here's the deal. If you have a vision, here's what I believe. If God gave me a vision, I can't expect everybody else to see it, because he gave it to me, not them. So be very careful. I'm very careful who I share my goals with, my dreams with. I have a goal that I'm cranking out this year. I was just listening on a couple speaking bureaus, and this will probably be the first time I've ever said it on a public forum, but I told them, I'm like, hey, listen, I like being the underdog and I like people doubting me. And I go, I'm going to share this with you, but I'm very careful who I share my goals with. I go, my goal is to be the number one speaker in the world. And I go, and if people laugh, I love it, because that's the story I tell later on. And so get around people that see more in you than you see in yourself. Like for me, Roberto, and this is not hype. People that know me, I do not say things I don't believe. Very few people have what you have. You have the ability to communicate. You have the ability, like you're amazing. I can tell you're world class at what you do, because I buy tailor-made clothes, and I'm sitting there going, man, I want to go to the UK and visit you and start representing, wearing your clothes that you create. But none of us are living up to our full potential. And so you want to have those people that see more in you than you see in yourself, because that raises that internal thermostat. They push you outside of your comfort zone, because accountability is key. Apathy is a natural human instinct common to us all, to seek a comfort zone where nothing ever changes. And that's a friend of mine, best-selling author David Bird, in his book, the Tripping Point in Leadership. And because comfort zones are designed to keep us safe. They look at sameness as security. So anytime we try to go to that next level, then our natural human instinct tries to keep us right where we are. So I have accountability in every area of my life: physical, spiritual, financial, and having those mentors and accountability partners, they can see blind spots that we can't see. And a blind spot's called a blind spot for a reason. It's blind to us. So associations in 2023, if you want to change your world, be very intentional about that.
Yeah. How, as a now successful businessman with a wife and with 5 kids, do you have pets as well?
Yes, we have two pets, 2 Yorkies.
Oh, bless. I hate using the word pets, actually, because I never refer to mine as pets. How have you managed to hold your family together and take them on the journey with you and maintain some sort of balance? I believe that there's no such thing as balance in life, because I see life as like a seesaw. Like I could put you on a seesaw and then an identical version of you on the other end, and I might be able to keep the world of Darin Kidd balanced for maybe a microsecond, but one of you's going to go up, the other one's going to go down, right? How have you managed to kind of keep that seesaw on an even keel? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, that's a great
Because
question.
it's like I don't have kids. I have 2 dogs, 2 cats. We have all these other responsibilities. We're building a house, etc., etc. I feel like I need to outsource every single area of my life to make sure that I can fully focus 100% on the 3 things that are the most important that are going to get me from A to B. So, and I know I've asked you that question because I know there are a lot of people that are listening or will listen to this that will be asking the same question as well. How have you managed to do it? And again, I keep banging on about your 5 kids, because that's just, that full house is just crazy to me.
Yeah. And Peter Drucker said, look, it's not how much you do, it's the effectiveness of what you do. And there was a time where, again, I tell people I'm a hot trainer. All right. And so for those of you looking at the video, like, I can see you're not that hot. That's not what I mean. Even though when I go to Starbucks.
Oh, no. I disagree. You look awesome. Like, seriously.
I go to Starbucks and they go, can I get a name? I'm like, yeah, The Rock. And then I get to laugh and I'm like, all right, I'm not as big as The Rock. Can just put the pebble. Let's just put the pebble. Right. Which, by the way, that's a lesson in itself. People have to have fun. You've got to enjoy what you do, especially in life. Like attracts like. We don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. And so when we really start to think about that, it makes a big difference. But you got to have fun and enjoy it. Treat every day as if it's the last day of our life. And one day we're going to be right. So that's just a little side note. Have fun. Enjoy the journey. But there was a period before we had a total of 5 kids, where I was, doing different things. And when I was working, I felt guilty I wasn't with my family. When I was with my family, I felt guilty I wasn't working.
Yeah.
I was on a treadmill. I felt like if I stopped, all my businesses would crash. And health, it wasn't bad, but I wasn't fit like I am now at almost 50. I'm in better shape at almost 50 than I was in my 20s. And then fast forward when I go, okay, I need to work on me. The best investment you can ever make is you, because you take you with you everywhere you go. And I had several things that had happened in the past where one company I was with was sold, and one company had massive takeover in the leadership, and I made a decision. I'm like, you know what? I never want to be in the position again where I'm at someone else's mercy. And I don't get paid what I want. I get paid what I am. Most people that win the lottery go broke within 30 some months. They just don't go broke. They go back to a place worse than where they ever were before they won the lottery. Suicide and depression. And so it's the worst thing. Why? Because they didn't become a multimillionaire. They were given millions of dollars, and their income always comes back to where we are. But you take it away from a multimillionaire or a billionaire, they'll go do it all over again. So I go, I am going to invest in me to where no matter what happens with the economy, with whatever, people will do anything in the world to want to work with me. And so that started me on a journey of massive self-improvement. Multiple six figures in education. I tell people, look, just because I don't have a college education does not mean I'm not educated. I've spent multiple six figures in 24 months continuing to grow. I consume 2 hours of content minimum every single day. I'm in courses and programs and VIP groups and masterminds because I know we're either growing or dying. Maintaining is a myth. We're climbing or sliding. We're green and growing or ripe and rotten, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
I went on that journey and I started to learn how to do the right things. That billionaire mentor was a big part of my life. So fast forward, franchises, 5 kids. I had a network marketing team of several 100,000 people all over the world. I was traveling all over the world, right? Online business, e-commerce, building to several 100,000 on social media. But yet I was happy. I developed, worked on leaders, replicating myself. Instead of being reactive, I started being proactive. I started understanding anything we ever create, we create in our head first. The late, great Bob Proctor, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So when you start being intentional and creating daily habits and rituals, because most of the time, let's face it, we're not going to feel like doing anything. And so with that, all of a sudden I go, okay, I'm being intentional about my spiritual life, faith, family, then finance. Here's what a lot of wealthy people do. They spend the first part of their life sacrificing their health to gain wealth, and the second part of their life spending that wealth trying to get back their health. I heard Alex Hormozi, if any of you have heard of him, he's crushing it. He was completely broke, 20 months, went to $50 million with a gym business. Now he's managing a portfolio of over $100 million. And he said, look, I would give everything I have away today just to go back 10 years ago. And he goes, and I'll bet you, no matter what I make in the next 10, I would give it all away to come back to today. And I'm like, whoa, it's so true, right? I was talking to a friend of mine a couple nights ago. I mean, his company's over 100 million. And last year he found out he had cancer, in one of his eyes. And he said this to me, and it made a huge impact. He goes, Darin, even though I lost 80% of my vision in one eye, the vision for my life has never been clearer. And so when I started to be proactive, and Roberto, I have daily habits and rituals because I know at first we create them, then they create us. So when I get up in the morning, I have a whole ritual. I don't look at the news. I tell people I used to watch Bad Morning America. It's not Good Morning America because it's nothing good. If it bleeds, it leads. Now I have a whole, where I'm filling my mind the first hour and a half of my day is purpose development and personal development.
Yeah.
Because the first 3 minutes of the day, if we look at something and engage in social media and negativity, there's a 27% increase at the end of the day. We had a terrible day. And so when I get to my office, like you may not be able to tell, but I have a stand-up desk because when you sit down, you cut off half your energy. So I love looking at all these hacks. Like I do a cold shower in the morning. I use the Pomodoro method. I don't know if anybody, so every 25 minutes, boom, I take a 5-minute break, but I don't just take a 5-minute break. I habit stack. So I'm going, okay, what can I do in those 5 minutes to make sure my state is optimal? I do 20 push-ups. I do 10 air squats. I do 50 calf raises. I do some barbell stuff, dumbbells. I do some stretching, and I drink water, and I track it. Now, I know I sound like a psycho. It's like, oh my gosh, it didn't start like that. It started with just a 5-minute break, drinking some water. But I'm like, you know what? I need to move my body. So now at the end of the day, I'm sitting here, 200 plus push-ups before I go to the gym. And my wife just told me yesterday, she's like, you got to stop growing because we're going to have to buy a whole new wardrobe, right? I may have to come see you. But what's happened,
I'll fly over.
There you go. My body has started to change because of simple little discipline. So I have rituals throughout my day. At the end of the day, I have a wind, because structure relieves stress. And so at the end of the day, I have a wind down period. I know that what I listen to, what I read, I marinate on for the next 6 to 8 hours while I sleep. So when you can have it all, if you're intentional, you set goals, you create habits and rituals. Yes, there's a season of sacrifice. Sometimes we have to give up to go up. There's times where I'm working harder than I normally do, and I'm a little off balance for a season to be a lot more balanced later on. But I have married almost 30 years. Marriage is better now than it's ever been. I go get pedicures with my girls. Went to the Brow Bar the other day with them. I don't have a whole lot, but we went to the Brow Bar. I work out with my boys, right? And so I feel very blessed. I tell people I'm one of the wealthiest people. In my mind, I'm the wealthiest person on the planet. And I'm not talking about just the financial part. It's I love my life. I'm happy. Some of the most miserable people I've ever met are the wealthiest people. So it's very important to have your priorities in order. Be intentional. I always plan my day before it starts. What are the 3 to 5 things that I have to get done, or I don't put them on my to-do list? It forces me to prioritize, and then I have future to-do lists that I hit after that. So it's a lot of little 1% things, but here's the key, Roberto, and I'll turn it back to you. A lot of them seem to make no difference at all when you're doing them. Me doing push-ups for one day had no change. I had no change in my body. Drinking water and tracking it, no change. Right that day. Eating a Big Mac, French fries, and a milkshake today, no change. But eating that over a period of time, I'm digging a grave with my teeth. So it's the simple things daily, good or bad, that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them, but they compound. In my book, right, 1% better a day. In 1 year, you're 37 times better, not 37%. So I may not be, and Wayne Dyer talked about this. Gosh, I get so excited. Sorry about that.
No. Listen, first, do time out. Yeah. Do not apologize. Like, seriously, everything you're saying as you're saying it is validating what you're saying. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but the energy rush that's coming from you, I mean, literally, if my battery was flat before I came on this call with you, I'm now, like, literally my battery's overcharged. I'm storing excess energy right now. It's freaking awesome. So keep going, because I know that you'll be doing this to everyone who's listening to this right now.
I love it. Now you can
never apologize. Never apologize.
Thank you. Now you can see why, I love being on stage. I love dancing, having fun, training, inspiring, helping people get to that next level, but not just motivating and inspiring, teaching them that the only type of motivation that lasts is internal. And that for things to change, we have to change. And let me share with you how to do that. Let me share with you how to grow your company and increase retention and have a better experience, all of those things. But Wayne Dyer, he wrote a book called The Power of Intention, I believe is the title of it. And he was talking about, do not tie your confidence to your abilities. You tie your confidence to your intentions. So I think one of the best things, if you go, Darin, what is your gift? Well, I think some of my superpowers is I have the ability to simplify things because I'm not a complicated person. And I have a way to package them in a way that people go, I get it. But one of the things I think I was blessed with, and I know this is crazy when you hear it, nothing has ever come easy for me. Nothing.
No.
I was so good at baseball, football, basketball. The only reason I got into martial arts, I was good at getting beat up, right? So anything I do, I have to work so hard at. And I tell people, it's like Jim Rohn when he said, look, you can make up in numbers what you lack in skill. And I'm like, hey, you know what? They may be smarter than me. They may do this, but they won't outwork me because I will make up in numbers what I lack in skill. So when you're doing those things on a daily basis, when I get up after 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, in my mind, right? I used to go, I hate mornings. Now, that's a whole nother conversation we can talk about in a second, your thoughts and your words. But now I'm like, you know what? Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Most people won't jump out of bed, but I'm not most people. So no matter how I feel, I understand the power of my thoughts and my words. When I get to the office and it's dark and no one's here. When I left last night, it was dark. No one was here. When I'm doing push-ups, most people would think I'm crazy, but I'm not most people, right? And so doing those things on a daily basis, focusing on the process and not the results, focusing on your intentions and not the results, having faith that if you're doing the right things and you have the right people in your life, because there's 2 ways to get to where you want to be. If I want to go out and I want to learn how to do what you do, Roberto, I can spend, how many years have you been doing that?
20.
I can spend the next 20 years. I can make a massive amount of mistakes, right? I can spend a ton of money, or I can pay you a lot of money, come over there, spend a few days with you, shave years off my learning curve, buy your experiences, and get to where I want to be a lot sooner than later. So when I'm working with people, and again, this is where you have to know your self-worth, because we only get what we feel like we're worth. I used to feel guilty asking for someone to pay a lot of money to work with me. But I'm like, no, if they don't want to, they're not my person. They can spend 30 years as an entrepreneur. They can invest multiple 6 figures. They can go through thousands of books and audio programs and courses. They can travel all over the world. They can make millions of dollars in mistakes like I did. So if they want to do that, they can take that path. But I'm not doing them any favor by not charging them what I need to charge them, or myself a favor. And people that pay attention. So they're going to invest. We're going to lock arms. We're going to get them a transformation. But those little things on a daily basis, they compound. And what I'm doing every day, I'm always looking for ways to get better. So like yesterday, I was studying the benefits of sun exposure early in the morning and late in the afternoon, the benefits of cold showers. And I went to cryo, negative 220 degrees for 3 minutes. I used to not like that, but I like the results, right? The sauna, the benefit of the sauna, the benefit of drinking water, the benefit of eating the right foods.
I love that. I don't like that, but I like the results.
Yes.
Anything in life, right? I don't like working out, but I like the results. I don't like eating healthy, but I like the results. I don't like picking up the phone and calling customers, but I like the results. It's focusing with the end in mind. It's like, cycling's my thing because like my knees are kind of shot. So running's, not the greatest thing that I can do, but cycling works. And, the actual kind of getting up and getting your kit on and doing, I never even think about that because I just need to get to I keep focused on the end result, which is how I feel during and afterwards. And it's the same with so much that we do in our lives.
Yeah.
I don't like cooking, but I like the results.
Do with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important we focus on the pleasure. What is it that we really want? We have to have clarity with our goals and our dreams, but also, like I had a training group that I was working with last night of leaders, and I go, I want you to spend some time and write down the pain you're going to experience if you don't go do it. And I want you to spend time. I want it to hurt. And so you have the pleasure, the goals, your dreams, what thou seest, thou beest. If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. And the clear the picture of your future, when you have, and Roberto, I know we're coming close to the end, but let me tell you, for those of you for 2023, if you want it to be different than last year, you have to do something different. We know that. We hear it, but are we willing to take action? Do you have crystal clear clarity? Here's what's fascinating. Your brain doesn't know the difference of reality and what we tell it. So when you visualize an experience, your body and your brain produce the same chemicals and endorphins as if the experience actually happened. So you can experience an experience before you ever experience it. And why is that important? We think 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day. We have what we call the reticular activating system, RAS for short. And our brain is designed to block most of the things out. So because it would drive you crazy if we paid attention to everything. However, you have to tell it what you want. And it's like that car you just bought, but you never noticed how many were on the road until you bought it. They were there before, but now it's important to you. So when you, and you see what you're looking for. So when you set your goals and your intentions and you get crystal clear, then it allows things in to serve your goals and blocks things out that do not. So when you produce those chemicals and endorphins, we move in the direction of things that we're familiar with. So when the billionaire told me years ago, they didn't have the science that proved it. He goes, listen, Darin, you magnetize the condition that you seek. What you think about, you speak about, you bring about. So pay attention to what you're thinking about, what you focus on, because what you focus on, you feel. We move in the direction of our expectations. We move in the direction of things that we're familiar with. But most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do planning their life. So when you sit down, when the billionaire told me years ago, Darin, make a dream board. I'm like, a dream board? Am I a kindergartner is what I was thinking. But then I go, wait a minute, it's his private jet, not mine. It's his house that we're at the Cayman Islands on 7 Mile Beach, not mine. One of his investments, he showed me that day when I was in the office by him, just me and him. He goes, hey, this is just one of my investments, $99 million. I go, if he goes make a dream board, I'm making a dream board. Mm-hmm. So now, Roberto, I could do a several hour, talk on this. I have a success environment set up around me. I've got screensavers on my phone because we check our phone 300 and sometimes on average a day. Our subconscious is always recording. There's a 65-inch TV playing right now behind me, luxury homes, or it's Hawaii, different places my wife and I want to travel, Disney for Christmas. I've got affirmations and goals and photos of my family. I've got one jar over there that my wife and I went to Turtle Bay in North Shore, Oahu. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm putting sand from the beach in the bottle, and it's going to stay in my office because very rarely do we ever feel like doing anything. But this environment helps me focus on where I'm going, not where I've been. What I focus on, we feel. Thoughts are things. So when you start to think about what you're thinking about, have crystal clear clarity on your vision, and your brain didn't know the difference between reality and what you tell it. And that's good or bad. If someone loves drama, if there is no drama, they produce drama because they're used to we're our own pharmacy. We produce the drugs.
Yeah.
So when we start to have that and have that crystal vision, and then the clarity of the vision directs our goals on a daily basis. What thou seest, thou beest. Your vision is a magnet. So they asked Helen Keller, what's worse than being blind? She said, having sight with no vision. Sight is what you see when your eyes are open. Vision is what you see when your eyes are closed. Spend time creating, designing the life that you want. At the end of 2023, spend time visualizing as if it already happened. Run out in the future at the end of 2023, walk around and visit your dreams after they're accomplished. Now come back to today. What are the stepping stones that you need to hit to go achieve those goals? Boom.
I
get so excited about this stuff.
No, I think it was Brian Tracy actually in one of his books that said, I think it was Maximum Achievement, where he said you get what you think about all the time. And it was really funny because the person that made me read that book made me do an exercise, and it was basically next time you're headed somewhere and you're looking for a parking space, visualize that parking space. And I was like, yeah, whatever, like shut up. Like, I mean, especially in London, you don't get parking, it's not a thing. But it's same as you. I mean, he wasn't as successful as your mentor, but he was he was way more successful than me. And I was like, okay, listen, I'm just going to listen. I'll give it a go. I'll bite. And I did. And sure enough, where none had ever seemingly existed ever before there was a parking spot. I thought about that damn thing and focused on that space for like half an hour before I got there. And there it was. And I've kind of tried my best to be that way ever since. People, you know, the people that drag you back down to Darin 25 years ago, or me, pandemic, or 12 years ago, or whatever. Those people will describe people like you and me as, oh, Darin, he's an eternal optimist. He's an eternal optimist. Have you heard that before? You're just like, no, I'm just focused on the shit that I want all the time.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. Remind me in just a second, and I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you my favorite affirmation, if you want to hear it.
No, go for it. Of course I do.
And I'll give you the key to not having anyone ever talk about you again, okay? So my favorite affirmation was from that billionaire. The world is conspiring to do me good. See, what you focus on, we move toward, right? What we seek is seeking us. All of those things are so true. And when you start to go, man, I'm a magnet for greatness. I'm blessed and highly favored. Great things are always happening to me. Things don't happen to me, they happen for me. The world is conspiring to do me good. Everywhere I go, I'm a magnet for great things. When you start to think about that, I'll give you an example. And again, this is not, the other day I had a 2.5 hour drive, and I'm going to go in and do the cryo and the red light while I'm in town. But when I got out of the car, I was tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need a nap. So what do? Act the way you want to feel. Soon you'll feel the way you act. Change your state, change your physiology. So I stood up straight, started breathing deep, getting in oxygen, walking fast. And I walk in and I'm just saying hi to people. Well, when I came out of the red light, the lady's like, hey, I want to introduce you to this person. And they're like, Darin, when you walk through, I asked the people, you didn't even see me, but I go, who is that person? His presence is different. He has energy, right? From that, she introduced me. She's introducing me to could be a massive opportunity to speak and train for this big group, right? So it's how you think, it's how you speak. And by the way, a negative thought is 4 to 7 times more powerful than a positive. When you speak it, it multiplies it by 10. So think about what you're thinking about. Even if you think something crazy, don't speak it. So when you start to think the right things, you speak the right things. And I've told my kids, look, your words and your thoughts, they're seeds. You don't reap, you reap what you sow. I don't plant an apple seed and expect an orange. I expect to get what I plant. And you don't plant one apple seed and get one apple. You get a tree with a lot more apples and a lot more seeds. So be very careful what you're planting. And another way I look at it is my thoughts and my words. I'm painting tomorrow today with my thoughts and my words. So the world is conspiring to do me good. And I remember talking to the guy that's a friend of mine, the best-selling author, David Bird, and I'm going, hey, listen, that saying, and he's like, Darin, I've watched it happen to him. He was in Mexico one time in the ocean, and underwater, he bumps into a guy from Japan, and they pop out of the water, and this Japanese man goes, you're Paul J. Meyer. And he goes, yes, I am. They became great friends. He built a $10 million office in Japan. And Paul Meyer's like, hey, this is what happens to me all the time. And this friend of mine who ran his company said, Darin, it did. It was the craziest thing you've ever experienced. So that's one of my favorite affirmations. And then I told you I would share with you the secret to not having anybody talk about you. Here's the secret. Don't have anything, do anything, be anything, live a life of insignificance. That's how you don't have anybody talk about you. When you put your head above the crowd, they're going to swing at you. Dogs do not bark at a parked car. So just get used to it. And I forget who I was listening to the other day, but they were saying, their mentor said, listen, if you don't have people saying something bad about you by noon, you're not living up to your full potential. I've had people make fun of my hair, my teeth, like anything and everything. Oh, you're greedy. You're doing this. It's okay, right? Because that's the only way. When you make a big impact, when you're helping a lot of people, there's always going to be someone that has something to say about it. Just don't focus on it. Continue doing what you know you're meant to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. You know why I keep grinning at you? I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm so glad I reached out to him. And I'm so glad
I
you
am too.
accepted because like you're totally my tribe. Seriously. You wouldn't be able to get rid of me if I was actually in your hometown physically. So I'm also conscious of time for you because you've got other things that you need to get onto as well. So I will until
Mhm.
everything revolves around that in terms of how people can find you. So we have the book, which I presume is available on Amazon and all the usual places.
Yeah, we're
I
getting ready
shouldn't
to
have
turn
said
the
that.
physical copy on. You can go to iwilluntil.com.
Uh-huh.
So, and you can connect with me. You can purchase the book. It's on the Audible version is on, well, you can buy that on iwilluntil.com as well, but it is on Amazon. We hadn't turned on the physical copy yet. We're getting ready to do that. We just released it. We hit Amazon #1 bestseller. And then if anybody's looking for someone to help increase their performance, productivity, profits, they just go to iwilluntil.com/book a call, and we can set a call and see if there's a way that I can help you, your company, whatever you're looking to do. And I am getting ready to launch a 12-month program, a do it with you type program, because, for years I had franchises, e-commerce, all those things that I did. Now I'm doing the speaking and the coaching and the training. I want to be the person that I wish I would have had 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. And I'm glad you mentioned the coaching program because I was going to do that. So thank you so much. And I can't wait till you've worked all of that out and it launches. Because then I get to have you back on again
Yes. Well, and we've
and
actually
talk
got the
about this.
program going right now, but we're getting
Oh,
ready to
okay.
enhance it even more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're taking it from a 6-month program to a 12-month program, which, by the way, for any of you, even if I'm not your cup of tea, when you're looking, a lot of the coaches and some of the best in the world, they're going to that type of model because that's where you get the biggest transformation. Having a course is great because I have those, right? But when you have someone, instead of being a travel agent going, hey, go over there, instead of being a tour guide going, hey, listen, I've been there, I'm going to go with you, I'm going to show you how to get the best out of it. It's easier to have a transformation because you're not going to be alone and you have someone through the whole journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You just brought to mind the best personal trainer I ever had, Will Gerling, who, I've hated PTs because they just stand there telling you what to do. But Will, he'd get me on the weights, but he would set a bench up with the same set of weights next to me, and then he would do what he was telling me to do.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leadership
And
is visual.
exactly. That's absolutely it. Darin, thank you so much. I have to ask, have you had fun? I've had
Hey, I
loads of
love
fun
it.
today.
I think you could tell. I can't hide it. People
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God. I've been told I'm like a Chihuahua jacked up on Red Bull sometimes, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. That is a pretty good explanation of me. But I love it. I mean, it inspires me and it motivates me. I love helping. I love putting hope in people's eyes and then giving them the tools that they need to go out and change their life. Because I remember how I felt when I felt like I had no hope.
Yeah.
And so, that's my goal, is to impact the world. And I'll leave you with this. In the last 3 years, we've had some crazy things in our family. I had my nephew and his wife and 11-month-old twins. They were in a house fire. My nephew, one baby, did not make it out. My mom passed away last year unexpectedly, 67. My wife's grandfather over a decade ago lived to 99. So whether you're 11 months old, 24 years old, 67, 99, we think we have time. We do not know. And some of you right now, you're listening to this. You may never listen to me again, but I'm telling you what, deep down inside, you have more potential. You're not living up to your full potential. We think we had time. And my challenge to you is live every day as if it's the last day of your life. One day we're going to be right. But and my goal is to do as much good as I can, as long as I can, to as many people as I can. And if you got one thing out of this interview that helped you, inspire you, and motivate you, one aha moment, then I feel like my job is done.
Yeah. And there are so many moments you've given, so many teachable moments, and so many moments of high energy and high impact that I'm going to have so much fun editing this and just separating things out to put out on, social media and LinkedIn and so on as well. And I think I'm just going to start every single day listening to you, Darin.
I appreciate it, my friend. Listen, you've got an energy and a way about you, and I'm not just saying this, that's the reason you have your following is increasing so fast. That's the reason you're making such an impact. That's the reason your business increased last year. And I know you're just getting started. You're just getting warmed up. And so I'm proud of you. I appreciate you inviting me, and I'm excited to stay in touch with you and see where this takes us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And right, you lot, I will have Darin's links in the show notes, but head to, you can probably search I Will Until all in one word and it'll all come up, but www.iwilluntil.com/planner and /book a call if you want to book a call with Darin to explore how he can help you to increase your performance, productivity, profits, and just motivate you no end. And you can always email me directly and I'd be happy to connect you as well. Darin, thank you so much again. Thank you all so much for joining us both on this episode. Don't forget, Tailoring Talk is on Instagram at Tailoring Talk Podcast. You know I love feedback, so email me at tailoringtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. You can also click the share button. Very important on this episode, to send it on to people you know who might get some help or be inspired by Darin today. If you're enjoying Tailoring Talk and want to support the show, there's a link in the show notes to buy me a coffee. Have a great week. Be good to each other, and I will see you on the next one.